Studios, X, Twitch, and YouTube. Alex Ryanemi alongside Mark Springer. This was way more fun than the last game that we got to talk about, the 8-2 drubbing on the road at the Tampa Bay Lightning. By my account, Mark Springer, this was without a doubt the best hockey game of the year for the Avalanche, the most complete effort of the year for the Avalanche. Sure, they were a little slow at the beginning, not nearly as bad as they were against Tampa. I thought they were quick to contact. I thought they played well with the puck. I just thought that Aiden Hill was sensational in net, as was Alexander Georgiev. No penalties hardly called at all in this game. This is what you need to see from this team to bounce back.
Yeah, it was night and day. Well, from the 8-2 game in Tampa, and then the season opener in Vegas. Second time these two teams going at it this year. It was 8-4 in Vegas in the first game of the year. How many goals did Alexander Georgiev allow in that thing? He allowed 7 in the opener. He allowed 1 tonight. He was very good. Both goals tonight coming within short order of each other, within about 30 seconds. Pavel Dorofiev, who's a fun little player, scores his 12th goal of the season. And then Nichushkin scored his second goal of the season. This was the best Valeri Nichushkin game. He had a couple of assists in the last game. He had the empty netter and a couple of assists in a previous contest. But this was the official return tonight of Valeri Nichushkin crashing the net, or just, going north-south, in this case south, on that little bouncing play with McKinnon entering the zone. Lehkonen fights for a puck, and Nichushkin, keeps it moving. He's a train going to net. Puck ends up finding you when you do good things, and he snuck it past Aiden Hill, and that was the lone regulation goal. And then he gets the shootout winner, the 5th shooter for the Avs, as there were no shootout goals going into the 5th round, and Valeri Nichushkin was the 5th man called, and it was clean. It was clean. It was smooth. That release is quick. He's back. He's officially back now, and if he keeps his head on straight, he's every bit as good as he was when we last saw him.
And I think you saw him. You see him point to the crowd after he scores the shootout winner. He knows what it means for this crowd to see him back playing like that. He knows how important he is to the championship success hopes of this franchise. He has to be there. It was a great shot 5-on-5. It was a great shot 33 seconds after Vegas had scored. Right, this is 33 minutes into the hockey game. And while it wasn't a game where nothing happened, you just didn't have any goal scoring, right? I still thought it was a tremendously entertaining hockey game through the first half of this contest. And Val to bounce back after another short side goal goes in, although a great shot from Dorofiev there, for you to bounce back that quickly, to show that you are still up to the challenge, that you're not going to wilt, you're not going to fold under the pressure after having played a pretty good first half of the game, for me is a lot to notice. Thought Georgiev stepped up to the plate tonight. Nathan McKinnon must have heard everyone telling him that he didn't shoot the puck enough over the past few games, because he has 10 shots on goal. And if I counted correctly, threw 20 pucks toward the net tonight.
Yeah, credited with 6 missed shots here in this box score. But, the 10 shots on goal. He was everywhere. He hit a post tonight. He had a backhand. I think he had 2 posts, post and a crossbar perhaps. He had 2 pipes tonight. He was great. The top line tonight was McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen. Those 3 were excellent when they were together. Rantanen would float with a couple players, whether it was, Miles Wood, Ivan, Middlestat. They floated a little bit, but it was pretty solid what the top line was tonight. That was McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, and they were very good. And then just overall, I mean, the top weapons, and you can even throw Nikolai Kovalenko in there. I mean, Rush, how long was that shift that they had in the back half of the second period? In the second intermission, TNT replayed that entire shift, just the whole 3+ minutes of it, it felt like. And they just talked over it. I mean, that was, they ultimately kind of get a little weak Sammy G shot on that, but to keep it in the zone as long as they did. And Vegas is a tough defensive team. Not a lot of teams can maintain offensive zone possession and whip it around and fend off Vegas as long as Colorado did on that shift. That was impressive. You have a shift like that, you deserve to win a game.
It may have been the best shift of the year for the Avalanche. It got split between what was the Middlestat and Rantanen line, and then they were able to shift out and get the McKinnon line in for the final like 35, 40 seconds of that shift. And they followed that up in the third. The McKinnon line did the same exact thing. I thought the entirety of the third period was just grade A chance after grade A chance that Aiden Hill just stood on his head. Aiden Hill looked like he played every single game down the stretch of the Vegas Golden Knights championship run. That's how good he looked tonight. He looked Conn Smythe, Aiden Hill. It was one of those games that I looked at and I went, whoever scores the first goal is probably going to win this hockey game. It ends up not being the case, right? Vegas scores the first one. You're able to bounce back 30 seconds later, and then you have to do it in the shootout. But Aiden Hill was the story of the game tonight for Vegas. Colorado is the better team, in my opinion. I think if you were to look at the chances, Colorado out chances Vegas nearly 2-1 today in terms of actual pucks thrown at the net. 88 pucks thrown at the net through all situations, including overtime tonight for the Avalanche. 41 pucks thrown at the net for Vegas. You just had more possession. You had a little bit more jump, and I think it shows that the team responded. Spring.
Oh yeah, they absolutely did. This was their cleanest game of the season after allowing 8 goals. And yeah, Aiden Hill, he was tremendous. 28 years old. He's a good goaltender. He was instrumental in the Knights winning that cup. They kind of pluck him out of obscurity. He was, once a decent little prospect, kind of fell off. Fleury moves on from Vegas, and if they find a gem in Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill, that organization does have a little bit of a touch to it from being an expansion franchise. And, remember their very first season, they were dangerous, and they have built a good roster. That's the Knights have been tough on the Avs in recent years, and this was a tough game. The Avs, the better team clearly in the back half, but they can't finish because the Knights are tight defensively and they have the good goaltending. It took every bit of a 5-minute overtime, and in that 5-minute overtime, and then a shootout beyond. But they start with a 4-on-3. They have a little bit of an advantage to start. Is the first true penalty of the night was called. Devon Taves drawing a hook or a hold there at the very end of regulation. There were no penalties called in this game tonight until Cale Makar held a stick that Jared Bednar was arguing was hooking Cale. That's why he took that stick and threw it behind him, the stick of William Karlsson. Cale was just like, dude, you're hooking me. Get your stick out of here. I'll throw it for you. I guess it's the second action that catches the ref's eyes. They see him throw the stick. They call him for that. Fine. I think Bednar had a case. He was hooked. But yeah, the refs let him play tonight. Just 2 penalties called in this game, both in the third period. Or actually, the hooking late. I'm counting that more as overtime, but so technically 3 in regulation, but really 2 there in the third period, and no penalties called in the first 2 periods.
Yeah, there was no need to call penalties. I think they set the precedent pretty early on as a refereeing crew that we're going to let this game go, which is why I thought that the Cale Makar penalty was so bizarre in the game. And I mean, honestly, both of the penalties against Vegas were penalties. It was a trip on Pietrangelo, and it was a hook behind the net against Makar at the end of the game. And I forget who ended up taking that penalty. Was it Dorofiev that took the penalty at the end of the game?
I'm
almost
positive
yes.
it was. Okay. Yes.
So Dorofiev takes the penalty at the end of the game, and Vegas is losing their mind. I think you could see it on the broadcast. I was watching the altitude broadcast this evening. They cut to Aiden Hill, and Aiden goes, "That's so fucking soft," like screams at the referee. You can see word for word that it comes out of his mouth. And honestly, while they were 2 penalties, I thought Vegas had just as much right to be upset about that call at that time as Colorado did with the Cale Makar penalty. If you're going to set the precedent, you have to make sure that it stays the whole game. And I understand. I see you guys in the chat like fix my camera. The last two shows I've been working on some internet capabilities that are not up to live streaming snuff. We had some issues in the studio the other night, and then I'm not at my home right now. So
look,
the bandwidth is a little small.
Radio men at heart. At the end of the day, you don't need to see Raj's face. You just need to hear his silky pipes on between the pipes. That's all that matters.
I apologize for the potato camera right now. I will try and fix it to the best of my ability on Friday evening when I return home for the Avalanche's next game. This was exactly what you need to see out of this team, Spring. I loved the lineup tonight. I was a huge fan of the lines that Bedsy put out. The fact that you split up Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon. You put McKinnon in between Lehkonen and Nichushkin. You allow Casey Middlestat to play alongside Mikko Rantanen and elevate Nikolai Kovalenko. And while Rantanen wasn't exactly dynamic tonight, I thought Kovalenko was.
Yeah, Kovalenko was great. I mean, he was on the ice in the first stages of that very long shift. I thought that Ivan was good tonight. You know, he had a play where he fed Yoel Kiviranta, who continues to be solid for this team. And Kivi put a shot on Aiden Hill, and Ivan goes net front to look for a rebound or maybe just a little late trying to set a screen in front. Had he stayed to the left-hand side where he was, that was where the rebound came off the pads of Aiden Hill. Ivan, if he stayed that lane and in that lane and didn't change lanes, maybe he gets himself a goal there. But Ivan had his moments tonight. He looks clean and smooth out there. So does Kovalenko. Parker Kelly had a short-handed short side look where he tried to go bar down and he just flipped it over the net. You know, now that Nichushkin's back, even with Drouin out and, you know, Lehkonen's back, we forget that Lehkonen missed the first month or so of this season. Now that Lecky and Nichushkin are back, it's allowing, you know, Kelly, Ivan, Kovalenko to play in the roles that they should be playing in, and they're flourishing. They're playing very well. Like those, specifically Kovalenko and Ivan, are a part of the future of this team. Parker Kelly, I think, has been very good of late and has been a sneaky, solid addition to this team. I mentioned Kiviranta. I'll give him more love because he deserves to be in that group as well. Logan O'Connor has had moments of late, but was a little silent tonight. No shots on goal for OC. Did he leave with injury in this game? Did I miss something with Logan O'Connor? He only plays 10 minutes now that I talk about him. Because
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if he did.
That's very odd that OC only plays. That's like the lowest time on ice that Logan O'Connor has had in some time. I don't know if I missed something tonight. Let me look.
I'm looking at the shift charts right now. I'm waiting for them to load for me.
No, not seeing. I'm surprised to see a 10-10.
It may have just been a situation in which Bednar kind of shortened the bench because I think he saw the juice that his first six players were giving him. I mean, it's not like you saw a whole bunch out of Chase Bradley at the end of the game either. And unfortunately for OC in this game, you're handcuffed to that player. And that's kind of the way she goes if you end up shrinking the bench a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's interesting that, you know, after your horses, McKinnon, Rantanen, Lehkonen, Middlestat, who all played north of 20 minutes tonight, your next highest was Kovalenko at 15:05. But he's playing, you know, he got that vote really up there on that second line. Good for him. Good for Nikolai Kovalenko. I thought he answered the bell tonight. He had a very good game.
I mean, the little move that he makes, the backhand toe drag between the legs and then to go back underneath the triangle before he crashes into Aiden Hill that's an elite move. And it's a shame that he wasn't able to get a shot off on goal there because it was a hell of a move for Kovalenko. I thought Cale Makar was excellent this evening. The other player that continues to impress me, not just because of his skating, and his skating never ceases to amaze me in Sam Girard. Like that's the one thing that I look at him and I go, you're better than 95% of the defensemen in the world at moving your feet and taking free ice. Sam Girard has been so quick to close in the defensive zone and so unafraid of physical contact this season. It has completely changed at least my perception of him as a defenseman. And I've always been a pro Sam Girard guy. The fact that he's initiating contact in the defensive zone is everything for me. He's not going to be able to win a puck battle in front of net with a 6'4", 230-pound guy. That's just straight up physics. But the fact that he is at full speed initiating contact on the half wall, I love that part of his game right now.
Yeah, no, Sam Girard continues to play very well. Sam Malinsky had a very nice read in a 2-on-1 tonight where he ended up sliding feet first and blocking. It might have been a Jack Eichel shot, but it was a dangerous opening on the right-hand side that could have resulted in a one. There was space there for that Knights player to score, and Malinsky gets over and blocks that thing, and he does a good job of shutting down the passing lane, and reading when to slide for the block as well. So Sam Malinsky, he had a good game. Josh Manson had a feed from Nathan MacKinnon in the back half of this game where he activated and jumped into an offensive position where, man, I think Adin Hill made the save, or Manson missed just wide. But I thought Josh Manson had a good night. Yeah, it was up and down. Oliver Shillington, to me right now, is your sixth defenseman. Wasn't as effective as his last 2 goal scoring performance, but that's going to be rare for Oliver Shillington. He's, to me, the more dynamic and better option than Calvin DeHaan. They had him in there tonight. They had Shillington in. I think they went with what they thought was their true A lineup as far as what was available to them tonight. So yeah, defensively up and down, it was good. And then you get the defensive forwards in Nichushkin and Lehkonen back. So I mean that's going to help Alexander Georgiev. You know, he was missing Nichushkin and Lehkonen when they played in Vegas in the season opener. The defensive forwards help as well. And yeah, Alexander Georgiev in the shootout, he remains very good in the shootout. Didn't have a ton of opportunities last year, but I'm trying to go back and look. And man, I tell you what, 2 years ago, when he had that pretty good season, he was tough to beat in the shootout, and he was excellent tonight. He was matching Adin Hill shot for shot. He was every shootout attempt on Nichushkin was clean, or on Georgiev was clean. I mean, every save was clean, and he looked confident. It took in between the 2 Vegas games for Georgiev to warm up this season. I feel like he's finally starting to warm up a little bit.
Yeah, I believe in his career, Alexander Georgiev has a 7.26 save percentage in shootouts, and that's dating all the way back to like 2017, 2018. He saves, he saves 7 out of 10, just north of 7 out of 10. I suppose that's all you can ask for, and especially in a game where he plays as well as he did today. He's going to end up stopping, 4-4 or 5-5. This is what he had to say post game in the locker room.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty tight defensive game from both sides, and you try to enjoy it as a goalie for sure. I know our guys were battling and just trying to find the next goal and shut it down. Defensively, I think we did a great job with that defensive.
Again, struggling with some connection issues this evening. I apologize, everyone, for all of that.
He looked great, though. Alexander Georgiev, he looked great in that clip you played.
Yeah, he was awesome. I still think while he was great tonight, Adin Hill was was even better. I thought this was going to be one of those games that just got stolen out from underneath you. But now you look at these standings. Now you are you're 3 games north of 500, and Dallas gets the doors blown off them by the lowly Chicago Blackhawks, and they've come back down to earth. Right, we're waiting for Minnesota to start to come back down to earth, which they kind of are. Right, they're now 14-4-4. They're 6-2-2 over their last 10. They're not as hot as Colorado has been now at 8-2-0, rather 7-3-10 over their last 10 games. You are tied with Dallas right now for the 3rd spot in the Central Division. You are just 3 wins behind Minnesota, and you only have 1 more game played than the Minnesota Wild. You're right there. After all of this crap and knowing what you have to go through over the next month, the 4 divisional games, the 9 East Coast road games that you have to go through to be in this position, it's huge.
This is why we don't panic. You know, you lose 8-2 to Tampa, but they'd won the first 3 on the road trip prior to that. They lose at home to the Capitals in game 4 of a 4-game homestand, and then they don't look particularly good in that game, but they look very good in the 3 home games prior to that. You know, Georgiev's not perfect. We know Onanen as a young 24-year-old is absolutely not perfect. But, you know, despite the inconsistencies you may see in goal, it's going to be the ratio of win to loss is going to be north of 50%. It's going to be more in the 2-1 range for this team. So, you know, if Georgiev can get clicking and they get the consistent goaltending, my goodness, look out. This team could catch Winnipeg in 2 weeks. But, you know, Winnipeg tonight, they lose in LA 4-1. Winnipeg, I mean, they struggled offensively tonight. They only had 14 shots on goal. The Kings had 33 in the 3rd period of that game, and Winnipeg was down 2-1. Winnipeg only had 2 shots on goal in the 3rd period in an effort to try to come back. And we saw the LA Kings in Ball Arena a couple weeks ago. The Avs beat them. The Kings do play that muck-it-up game, but the Avs have the talent and the playmaking to be able to overcome it. And that's what they did. And Winnipeg did not tonight. I think if you were to ask any unbiased purveyor of the NHL and give them the roster of the Colorado Avalanche and then give them the roster of the Winnipeg Jets, and then you see how Nichushkin is looking in form tonight, I mean, it's no contest. It's no contest. So, again, when you feel like panicking because the Avs lose a game, I will warn you that you might be overreacting just a little bit.
No, I mean,
I'm not talking to you, Raj.
Okay, you can overreact on certain things. I think overreacting on wins and losses is ridiculous over the course of an 82-game season when you know that the team that is on the ice is going to be a playoff team. And that's what the Avalanche will be. When you have the talents like McKinnon, Makar, and Rantanen, you will be a playoff team. Just like the Nuggets, despite not starting the season well, they've got the best player on the planet on hardwood. They're going to be a playoff team, right? So wins and losses over the course of an 82-game season, I think overreacting just because of 2 points or 0 points or 1 point is crazy. Overreacting to consistent trends and failed opportunities to learn from those trends is one thing that I can get on board with. Like I can get on board losing my mind over the fact that like the Avs are the worst starting hockey team in the entire National Hockey League. I can lose my mind over that because it's a trend that needs to get better. Was I upset that that they didn't get 2 points 2 nights ago? No, not really. I couldn't give a damn over the course of an 82-game season. If you zoom out a little bit, the 4-game road trip against Tampa Bay is a success. You get 6 of a possible 8 points. You just happen to lose 1 game. Who cares how you actually lose it? But there's little minute details in there that have to be fixed and can be overreacted upon.
Sure. And sometimes it can be so simple. And one of the simple things right here is you just can't have 13 leaving in the playoffs or at any point.
Yes.
I mean, look at what he is. And we can break this down and we could say, oh, they got to do this, and man, it needs to be that. What would have happened if Nichushkin doesn't leave in the Dallas series? You need him out there.
I think you get past Dallas, man. I don't know if you win the West, but who knows? Like, they match up well against Edmonton.
And another thing that I'm thinking tonight, watching the Avs, and the only two there's only two teams in the West. No, I could throw out a third, but there's only two teams in the West who, like, when they're clicking, it's just on a different level, and it's because they have special talent. It's the Avs and the Oilers. It's there's a reason that the Oilers beat the Stars. If the Oilers are right, when Connor McDavid and co are right, it's really dangerous. There's a reason that they went on to beat Dallas, and Colorado's the other team. And we saw what they did to Edmonton in their conference finals. Like, those are the only two teams. The third I'd consider, and to me, Winnipeg offensively, no, I won't throw them in that group. Could be Dallas, and that's who the Avs will play on Friday night. But Dallas is, for all of the concern about the Avs, at least the Avs had a legitimate bevy of injuries. And Dallas is playing well, but I feel like they should be playing better. Like, where Minnesota and Winnipeg are is where I feel like Dallas should be, yet they're not there. And that's who the Avs will play on Friday.
Dallas, I'm not as scared about Dallas as I am about in Minnesota. I still need to see more. I need 20 more games of the Minnesota Wild to really figure out who they are. Admittedly, I've probably only watched like 4 full Wild games this year. I need to watch more. Kirill Kaprizov is a freak, and you guys know me. My big thing is, do you have the guy? Do you have the difference maker? And sometimes it can be a goalie. Most of the time in today's NHL, it is a player like Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid, right? Winnipeg has the guy in Connor Hellebuck during the regular season. It remains to be seen whether or not he can do it when it actually matters. He is their guy. Minnesota, while I don't know if they have the full team to do it, Kaprizov looks like a true difference maker. And that's why I need to see 20 more games to go, oh, are you guys real? Because if they're a top 3 seed and Kaprizov puts up 130 points, then I get really scared about seeing them in the playoffs.
They have Kaprizov. Who's their Rantanen? Who's their Nichushkin? Dallas is interesting.
Who's the young centerman that they really like there in Minnesota?
Boldy?
Matt Boldy. They love Matt Boldy. They've got a good young defensive core that's coming up, man. Minnesota's sneaky. Minnesota's sneaky.
But see, Dallas though, with and Jason Robertson seems to have not been able to build upon that really good season he had a couple years ago. But between Robertson and Wyatt Johnston and even your Stank Ovens and your Hinces, and then there's some more veteran talent mixed in there too. Like that just is a deeper offensive team to me. But they're 13-8. They are, and it's a good record. Don't get me wrong. It's just that is a team that profiles to me to be more where Winnipeg, even Minnesota, 6 points ahead of Dallas is. The Avs and the Stars are tied right now. Now the Stars have 2 games in hand, but Dallas was not hamstrung like Colorado was to start the season. So this is an interesting one on Friday night. Like, this is very winnable. You mentioned that Dallas score tonight, losing in Chicago 6-2, and I like Connor Bedard, and I think that Blackhawks team is just a tick underrated. But my God, 6-2, that is a whooping if you're Dallas. That's not how you want to go into Thanksgiving. When Dallas went out, it was to Finland to play the Panthers, and they got swept in both of those games. That was an early indication to me. I was like, what's going on with Dallas? And they've had a couple stinkers in there since, including tonight. There's an opportunity. I think Dallas right now on home ice for Colorado, that should be a win. You got to go get that win right now.
Yeah, you absolutely have to take advantage of your cup window if you're that team. But like I look at them and I go, who's your difference maker?
Yeah, because I mean,
I think is Andre the guy?
He is not taken that true final step, and
he's a stud. Don't get me wrong.
Like,
He's
and I
not Vazzy.
I think they have a better depth of talent than Minnesota does, but yeah, no one is playing on that Kaprizov level.
They don't have.
That's why that could be their problem right now.
That's the thing. I still don't believe in them from a true contending standpoint. All right, Spring. Let's run through the scoreboard. Tonight's late. 10 minutes until Thanksgiving is here. 15 games around the National Hockey League this evening. 0 tomorrow. It'll be all football all the time. Then we'll get a bunch more games coming up on Friday. 14 games on Friday. 15 games today. You already mentioned the 4-1 score from the Kings over the Jets. They get a power play goal from Anze Kopitar. They get Adrian Kempe's 11th of the season as well. The Senators beat the Sharks 4-3 this evening. They bounce back 4 goals on just 11 shots tonight for the Ottawa Senators. Can you believe that?
Let's see who was in goal for the Sharks tonight. It was Mackenzie Blackwood.
And hey, you want to know what my next score is?
Go for it. I assume it's a goaltender we talked about.
The Anaheim Ducks beat the Seattle Kraken this evening by a score of 5-2. And my boy, John Gibson, makes 42 saves on 44 Kraken shots against.
And this is game 2 of a little home and home between Seattle and Anaheim. Dostal started the one the other night where we were on air and we were talking during that one. So Gibson gets this one. And so this is like, what is fifth or so start? And he's been excellent so far this season. But then Georgiev plays. Now, he wasn't peppered like Aiden Hill was tonight, but, Georgiev was very good tonight.
He was very, very good tonight. John Gibson has now played in this season 5 games. He is 4-0-1 with a 2.57 goals against average and a .925 save percentage. Those are numbers that are reminiscent of the John Gibson that we saw between the years of 2015 and 2019. If that guy's available, and I'm not saying Georgie wasn't great tonight. Alexander Georgiev was awesome tonight. If that guy's available and John Gibson is that player once again, you have to go find him. Just saying. I know it's recency bias, and it's also like confirmation bias that I'm using right now. So I understand that. I'm very, very forward facing on that.
Well, the good news is any move for a goaltender or any move in general, not just for the Avs, but for the entire league. I mean, you might see a move or two in the coming month, before the end of this calendar year, but they're all going to be made in 2025. So we have there's time for Georgiev to assert, his role and keep his job and say, no, you should not trade for John Gibson. And then there's time likewise for Gibson to continue that this is the real deal. He's not hurt. He's not banged up. He's in a rhythm and he's in the zone. And, so the next month or so, hey, keep an eye on these Anaheim Ducks scores. Any night that the Avs have a bad goaltending performance, just go look at how John Gibson's doing over in Anaheim. And if he's playing well, just keep it in mind. That's it. That's a fun little thing. You can follow the Anaheim Ducks this year.
The Blackhawks get a Taylor Hall hat trick, and Connor Bedard ends his 12-game goalless streak as they triple up the Stars 6-2 at home. The Flyers get a 3-2 overtime win over the lowly Predators. Overtime winner coming from Sean Couturier, his 6th of the season, halfway through that overtime period.
The Flyers tied this thing up with 12 seconds to go in the game.
I did not see that.
And then they went into overtime. So if you're Nashville, the start to the season you've had, the disappointment, and then, this is disappointment mounted on disappointment. This result in and of itself tonight, you are 12 seconds away from a much needed 2 points and you walk away with 0 against a Flyers team that is good but is not great.
Dante Fabro missed his guy backdoor. It was Morgan Frost cutting backdoor on the 6-on-5 opportunity. He completely lost Morgan Frost. Overtime winners for the Montreal Canadiens over the Blue Jackets. They get 2 goals from Cole Caulfield in this game, and the overtime winner from Nick Suzuki, 44 seconds into the extra frame. The Penguins get a 5-4 win over the Canucks at home. They led this game 5-1, and they almost let this thing get away, Spring.
Yeah, the Tristan Jarry experience is a fun one.
I saw a tweet today. I got to find this for you, Spring.
I think I saw the same tweet about the time or the number of shots on goal that it takes for Jarry to allow his first goal of the game.
Yes.
Yeah, on all but one game, he's going no further than 4 shots on goal.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Here, I'll find the tweet right now. This is from J Fresh Hockey. In 7 games this season, Tristan Jarry has only gotten to the 5th shot against without allowing a goal 1 time. The shots faced before his first goal against are as follows. Game number 1, 0. Game number 2, 4. Game number 3 and 4, 0. Game number 5, 26. Game number 6, 0. Game number 7, 4.
Yeah, that 26 is just a massive outlier compared to the rest. What a night that must have been for Tristan Jarry when he was 26 shots against in. He must have been freaking out. Like, how is this even possible? Back to reality for Tristan Jarry tonight.
The Bruins double up the Islanders on the road. They get 2 goals from Brad Marchand, his 8th and 9th of the seasons. Also, Pavel Zacha scores 2 for this for Boston in this game, his 4th and 5th of the season. The Panthers hammer the Maple Leafs 5-1. The Maple Leafs had won 7 of 8 games without Austin Matthews. They come back down to earth just a little bit more tonight.
Yeah, and Florida had been struggling just a little bit, so a lot of, I'm sure, want to from them tonight. And speaking of, Florida had lost their last 4 coming into tonight, so that's a get-right game for them. Did you see first intermission, Anson Carter throwing out a Mikko Rantanen for Mitch Marner trade? They're both
shut the fuck up, Ace.
It just seems like a pointless trade. They're both on expiring contracts. I don't understand the benefit.
I love that broadcast, and I love Anson Carter. I think he's very good. That's how dumb do you think that move would be? How stupid could you be if you were Chris McFarland to say yes to that trade? They're not the same player. Rantanen he's enormously better. I don't have the words for it. That's how dumb that take was. It's making me dumb.
Well, there's that. Yeah, you'll take Mikko over Mitch, but Mitch is very good. And Mikko is a chemistry thing. There's Mikko's very durable. I know it feels like Mitch has missed a little time of late. I could be wrong about that. Mikko is always available, and he's just been part of this core. If you're trading Mikko Rantanen, it is still odd that the extension hasn't been done. I'm sure that there's a variety of reasons, though. The only thing you're trading him for is a goaltender, but I'm not sure that goaltender exists. I'm not sure there's a one on that, whether it's a somewhat aging Vasilevsky or Shesterkin. I don't know. Those are the only types of dudes you're trading freaking Mikko Rantanen for, and even then, that's just very unlikely. Probably not going to happen.
Tell me how many times Mitch Marner has scored 40 goals in his career. The answer is 0.
Okay, there it is.
Tell me how many times Mitch Marner has scored 100 points in a season in his career. I'll give you a hint. It's as many as I have. It's 0.
Yeah, a player, I'm not like Mitch Marner's a good player, but a player like Arturi Lehkonen gives you like a somewhat just diluted version of that. He's smaller. I like the size. The Avs are a smaller team if they don't have Rantanen and Nichushkin out there. They really are.
You get way tinier. It's not like Marner's a little guy who throws his body around either. And he can't stay healthy. What are we talking about?
That's why I did like, one thing, like I am glad to see Nichushkin back on the top line, back on the top power play unit. The past few games when it was McKinnon, Lehkonen, Drouin, don't get me wrong, I love all three of those players, but they're smaller. They're smaller. I want Moose up there. I want Nichushkin up there. I want one of the bigger players on that top line. It just looked too small with McKinnon, Drouin, Lehkonen.
Other scores from the NHL this evening, 5 games we haven't gotten to. The Wild shut out the Sabres 1-0 this evening. Kirill Kaprizov scores his 14th goal of the year after being out for a couple of games. The Blues shut out the Devils on the road thanks to a 31-save performance from Jordan Binnington. 3-0 is the final for St. Louis over the Devils. The Hurricanes beat the Rangers at home 4-3. Red Wings get the Flames in overtime by a score of 2-1. Lucas Raymond nets the overtime winner on the power play. Spring. It's that 4-on-4 kiss of death. Avs couldn't figure it out tonight. But Detroit, they get a good little puck retrieval from Raymond. He shoots through a screen and ends up beating Dan Vladar off of his blocker side. And the only other game that we haven't talked about thus far, poor Charlie Lindgren. Poor Ryan Lindgren.
No, Charlie.
Or is it Charlie?
Lindgren.
Oh,
yeah,
Ryan's
his
the
brother
skater.
is Ryan. His
Ryan's the
Ryan.
skater for the Rangers. Poor Charlie Lindgren. Thank God his team won the hockey game.
So that was for the hat trick for Braden Point. That Charlie Lindgren goal, I guess Braden Point was the last to touch it when Lindgren's just kind of trying to swing the puck. Was he trying to go around the net? I don't think he was. I think he was trying to go into the corner, and I don't know, but yeah, he potted it into his own net. Now, yeah, it didn't matter because now that gave the Lightning a 4-3 lead. You would have thought it would have mattered, but it didn't because Washington ended up scoring. John Carlson scored not too long thereafter, and then a power play goal won it for him. But that's the bailout of all bailouts right there for Charlie Lindgren.
Poor guy. I felt so bad for him. And it was
He's
a tie.
Solid goalie, too. He is a solid goalie.
He really is. It was a tie game at that point, too. It was like 7 minutes into the third period. Like, definitely could have been the difference between a win or a loss, and somehow you still get him in regulation.
Hey, one more note on the scores before we get out of here. Jim Montgomery, 2-0 now for the Blues.
Head coach bump.
Joe Sacco, 3-1. They lost. Shout out to the Bruins lose at home 2-0 to the Canucks last night. They get blanked. They come back the next night, put up 6 in Long Island. The odds are low, but a rematch of the 2019 Stanley Cup Finals, Bruins Blues. Like the Blues getting there is damn near impossible. The Bruins is, I think, pretty unlikely too, but more realistic than the Blues. But that would be, I would root for that.
Joe Sacco and Monty.
That would be something right there.
It really would. All right, Sprint, it's going to do it for us tonight. For all of you who always tune in after every single Avalanche game here on Altitude Sports Radio's X, Twitch, and YouTube accounts, for our friends at Safeway, we are very thankful for you guys. Enjoy your day with your family and your friends tomorrow if you are able. Kick your feet up, grab a beer, have some wine, watch a bunch of football, and we will not be far off, right? We will be back on Friday evening as the Avs take on the Dallas Stars. That game can be watched on TNT. You can listen to it on Altitude Sports Radio as always, and then come right here around 10 p.m. on Friday evening. Myself and Mark Springer will give you guys Between the Pipes presented by Safeway once again. But for Spring, I'm Raj. We love all of you guys. Avs win 2-1. Best game of the year, hands down. We'll see you guys Friday night.